Our session this morning is called Back to Order. And so I'd like to say good morning to you once again. I give thanks to God for each of you and pray that each person here knows that they are God's chosen one, holy, beloved, valued, and valuable. I am Bishop Sandra Steiner-Ball. I am a white female adult. My life verse is Colossians 3:12 through 17. I serve as the residential bishop of the West Virginia Conference. I collaborate and share leadership with my colleague, Bishop Cynthia Moore-Koikoi, as together we provide Episcopal coverage for the Susquehanna Conference. And my home or sending conference is the Peninsula Delaware Conference. Backing me up today are two wonderful and gifted bishops, Bishop Kenitha Bigum-Sai, who serves the Iowa Conference, and Bishop Christian Alstead, who serves the Nordic, Baltic, Ukraine Episcopal area. As we do our work today, let me remind you of how important it is to value and respect each other. We're going to have many times when people will get up to the mic, and I just want to remind you that it's not appropriate to clap or cheer speeches made at the mic when we are in times of debate and discussion. To do so shuts down conversation, potentially cuts off relationship, and communicates that a differing point of view is less than or not valued or important. So instead, I encourage you to listen deeply, to seek to hear God's voice in the midst of all our voices, to be curious, and to pray for each one who speaks at the mic. So let me now pray for us, and as we come to this time of prayer, and as we call on God's Holy Spirit, won't we remember those places in our world that are experiencing violence and upheaval and war, places like the Congo and Israel and the Ukraine, and in your hearts and minds you know of other places that are encountering those same experiences of violence and war. So let us pray. Come, Holy Spirit, on this General Conference gathering of the United Methodist Church, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, help us to put on compassion, kindness, lowliness, meekness, and patience. Help us to forbear with one another, and if one has complaint against another, help us to offer forgiveness. Above all these things, help us to put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. Throughout this day, help us to allow the peace of Christ to rule in our hearts, that peace to which we are indeed called, and may everything we do, in word or in deed, be done in the name of Jesus with thankfulness to our God. Amen. The next item of business is nominations for the Commission of the General Conference, and the chair recognizes the General Secretary of the General Council to provide details for our nominations and our elections. You're on this side. Hi, Garrett.
Hi. Hello, Bishop. It is time for us to move to the nominations for Commission on the General Conference. I will call your attention to 2 page numbers in the DCA. The first page number is 2000 2,119. 2,119. You will also at the same time be looking at 2,074. 2,074. So this is a place where you will want to have both pages available to you. On 2,119, there are two changes to the listing that you will see on 2,074. The first change is to remove Emmanuel Dibu Irang Ilunga from Congo Central Conference and replace that person's name with Robert Shikikupe Kilumbo of the Congo Central Conference. The second change is to remove Sylvester Ushiri Mutoma of Congo Central Conference and replace with Michel Jonga Kasongo of the Congo Central Conference. Those are the two changes we have received from the Council of Bishops to the nominations list. That places us completely now on page 2,074. So your full attention can now be on 2,074. There are specific requirements to the list that we have before us. First, we must elect the minimum numbers to fit the geographical and age requirements that are part of paragraph 511.1 of the Book of Discipline. That paragraph requires that the voting members of the commission shall consist of 25 members as follows: 1 person from each U.S. jurisdiction, 1 person from each of the 7 central conferences, 1 young adult, 1 youth, the chairperson of the host committee, and 10 additional members who are allocated to reflect the proportionate membership based upon clergy and lay membership of the church. Those allocations and the proportionate designations are reflected in the list on page 2,074. Therefore, if we have nominations from the floor, if there should be one from a particular central conference, that name would be compared with the name that is already here, because we have to make sure we have the right number from that area as we get to our final election time. We will be accumulating that as we go. One change that is different from our normal practice and is a reflection of the extended quadrennium is that we have reached a point where those persons who are eligible to continue with the commission are nominated by the Council of Bishops because they were appointed to complete the terms of members who were no longer on the Commission on General Conference and created vacancies which were filled throughout the previous quadrennium. For those persons, they are listed in the nominations from the Council of Bishops. We also will be placing these two groups into classes because our class rotation needs to be reset for the Commission on General Conference. We will be nominating into the class of 2028, and then we will be nominating into the class of 2032. So we will have 2 sets of nominations, one for the 4-year class and another for the 8-year class. And at the future General Conference, you will be able to reset the rotation for those who were in the 4-year class based upon their limit, based upon how much eligibility they have remaining. Bishop, I hope that has helped to set the stage for where we are. And so first we would be working with the class of 2028. A reminder that the delegates who are able to be nominated must be seated primary delegates. Reserve delegates who are seated just for these 2 weeks are not eligible. They must be seated primary delegates, and we will be checking our database and we will give you a report at the end should there be any discrepancy.
Thank you. In a moment, we will accept nominations for the Commission of the General Conference. Nominations do not require a second. Based upon what was stated by the Secretary of the General Conference, when nominations are open for the Commission on the General Conference, we will accept nominations first for the class of 2028. We will do those nominations, and then we will close nominations for the class of 2028, and then we will then do nominations for the class of 2032, and then we will close those nominations. Please keep in mind that the same name cannot be nominated for both of those classes. You can be nominated for one class or the other. When you provide a name for nomination, please state the person's name, their annual conference, and their annual conference. And that's all we need when you get up to the mic. No speeches, we just need for you to provide their name and their annual conference. Okay, delegates, we are now ready to receive nominations. You may register in your device using option 7, the other parliamentary section, to register in order to be recognized to make your nominations. Nominations are now open for the class of 2028, and you may now register. Okay, Dave Knuckles, Delegate Dave Knuckles, microphone number 1, has a point of information or inquiry.
Good day, Bishop. I'm Dave Knuckles. I'm a layperson, white adult from Minnesota Annual Conference.
Please speak closer to the mic. Thank you very much. And what is your question?
My inquiry concerns the layout here where Elise Fulbright is shown as both the nominee for Secretary of General Conference and also class of 32. If she's elected to be the Secretary of General Conference, does that mean we have another opening in the 32? Another way to word this inquiry, I'm thinking from the North Central jurisdiction, would we have 2 committee members?
Thank you for your question. These are 2 separate nominations processes, and so we will complete the nominations processes for that other category separately. And yeah, the nomination for Secretary Designate does not apply to our work on the nominations for the General Conference Commission at this time.
So if we elect the slate that's presented here and then elect Elise as Secretary of the General Conference, would we then need to fill a slot?
She is not, that is a separate nominating category. It is not on this particular nominations. Our General Secretary can provide further clarification.
We are currently only at the point of listing nominations. Once that election has occurred, then we would have to address the hypothetical situation. If there are other people from the North Central jurisdiction who are nominated from the floor, that may be another way that you can handle that at the election time. But right now, we simply, if there is a vacancy that is created following the election, that would be a vacancy that would be open to the Council of Bishops for filling the vacancy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon Priddy, microphone 2, Indiana, to make a nomination.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Shannon Pretty from Indiana, laity, adult, white woman, she, her, hers. I nominate Bethany Amy from Greater New Jersey.
Bethany Amy is nominated. Okay, microphone, Jackie G. Jenkins, microphone number 4, South Carolina. And while we're waiting on her to come to the mic, also at microphone 6, Andy Emanuel, if you can be up and ready.
Thank you, Bishop. I am Jackie Jenkins, South Carolina Conference, Black American female, pronoun she and her. I nominate James Sally from South Carolina.
Okay, thank you. James Sally is nominated. Andy Emanuel.
Thank you, Bishop. My name is Reverend Andy Emmanuel from Southern Conference of the Nigeria Episcopal Area. I rise to nominate Reverend Dr. Isa Duna from Northern Nigeria Annual Conference.
Dr. Isa, say the name again for me, please.
Isa Duna. Isa is spelled I-S-A. Duna is spelled D-U-N-A-H.
Thank you. Turning now to Thomas Lank, microphone 5. Oh, point of inquiry.
Thank you, Bishop. Tom Lank, Greater New Jersey, deacon, white male. My question was regarding the 2032 slate, so I don't know if it's actually in order at this time.
If you would come back to the mic when we get to that, or re-enter to come back, we'll take your inquiry at that time. Thank you very much. Maggie Taylor, if you could come to microphone 4, and Scott Brewer, if you could come right behind Maggie Taylor at microphone 4, we'll get your nominations. Okay, microphone 4.
Maggie Taylor, Legacy Tennessee Conference, laity, young adult. I would like to nominate Connor Brusha from the East Ohio Conference.
Connor Brusha is nominated. Scott Brewer?
Scott Brewer, white layman from the Great Plains Conference. I nominate Lisa Maupin, lay leader from the Great Plains Conference.
Lisa Maupin is nominated. Alcides Martins and Lindsay Freeman. Microphone 5 for Alcides Martins.
Meu nome é Alcides Martins, sou da Conferência Anual do Leste de Angola. Eu nomeio o reverendo Giovanni Mendes da Conferência Anual do Leste.
Giovanni Mendes of the Northwest Conference of Angola.
I need you to come back to the microphone. The translation is not clear.
My name is Alcides Martins of the Annual Conference of Angola West. I'm a black man, layman, and I designate Giovanni Mendes, Reverend Johannes Mendes of the East Conference, Angola.
Johannes Mendes is nominated. Lindsay Freeman, microphone 1.
Thank you, Bishop. Reverend Lindsay Bainham Freeman, clergy, Virginia Annual Conference, biracial, Black, African American, white, Anglo, My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I would nominate Reverend Meredith McNabb, Virginia Annual Conference.
Meredith McNabb is nominated. I just want to remind delegates that the option for making a nomination is option number 7. Okay, Krista. Okay, there's no one in the speaker recognition pool with option number 7, other parliamentary. If there is no objection, nominations for the Commission on the General Conference for the class of 2028 will be closed. Okay, I see no objection. Okay, so the nominations for the class of 2028 are closed. We will move now to the nominations for the class of 2032. And we'll come back to Tom Lank at microphone 5 for his inquiry.
Thank you, Bishop, for helping me get my steps in today.
You're welcome.
Tom Lank, Greater New Jersey, white male adult. My question is whether on the slate for 2032, Noel Chin should be listed as Reverend Noel Chin, in which case we would have 2 clergy representatives on the slates for 2028 and 2032.
I'll turn to our General Secretary.
The allocation that came to us was printed as it is. I will be able to look into whether that offsets the clergy laity balance, but the clergy laity balance is one that is, we attempt to maintain as close a balance as it is. It is not a specific requirement. It is a case where we have to have a certain number from a particular geographic area. We attempt to maintain the diversity across all types of diversity that we look at. I don't believe that this would be a requirement.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We're now taking nominations. Tanya Murphy at microphone 5 and Megan Walter also at microphone 5. After Tanya, Megan, be ready to make your nomination. So microphone 5.
Tanya Murphy, African American female, lay, North Georgia Conference. I rise to nominate Jasmine Rose Smothers, clergy, North Georgia, Southeastern Jurisdiction.
Could you please repeat the name one more time? I'm sorry.
Jasmine Rose Smothers, clergy.
Jasmine Rose Smothers is nominated. Thank you. Megan?
Megan Walther, clergy from Michigan, she, her pronouns. I wish to nominate Diane Brown, also from Michigan, laity.
Diane Brown is nominated. Krista Dede at microphone 1 and Lindsay Drake at microphone 5. Microphone 1, Krista.
Reverend Krista Dede, Wisconsin, she, her, hers, white, female, adult. I rise to nominate Allie Scott from Wisconsin.
Allie Scott is nominated. Lindsay, microphone 5. Lindsay Drake, microphone 5.
Lindsay Drake, Iowa, laity, white. My pronouns are she, her. I would like to nominate Reverend Nate Nims from Iowa.
Reverend Nate Nims is nominated. If we can have Jackie Jenkins at microphone 4 and Dwayne Duncan at microphone 2. Jackie, we'll go to you at microphone 4.
Jackie Jenkins from the South Carolina Conference, Black African American female, pronoun she, her. I nominate Reverend Kenneth Nelson.
Reverend Kenneth Nelson is nominated. Microphone 2, Dwayne Carlisle.
I was confused. I'm not Dwayne Duncan. Dwayne Carlisle, Indiana Conference clergy. I'm Latinx and multiracial. My pronouns are he, him. I rise to nominate Reverend Luis Reyes from the Northern Illinois Conference, North Central Jurisdiction, to the class of 2032.
Luis Reyes, Reverend Luis Reyes is nominated. Arthur Manuel, please go to microphone 4, and Jinford Dismate will follow him, Arthur Manuel.
Arthur Mendes Manuel, delegado leigo da Conferência Anual do Oeste de
The
Angola.
Annual Conference of Angola West, and I would like to remove my nomination proposal.
Okay, thank you very much. Jinford Dismati, microphone 4.
Thank you, Bishop. My name is Ginford Zimati, West Zimbabwe Annual Conference. I rise to nominate Shepherd Mpemba.
Shepherd Benba
Late delegate, West Zimbabwe.
is nominated. Thank you. Gadavir Manizrekia from Burundi, microphone 5. And Alfaro Santis, also microphone 5.
Goderive Manirakiza, Conférence annuelle du Burundi. Je nomine Reverend
and I nominate somebody. I did not hear the name, excuse me.
Please repeat the name.
Répétez le nom, s'il vous plaît. Chimpaye Barantine. Chipare Ramantine. C-I-M-P-A. Y-E. Chimpaye Valentine.
Is nominated. All right. Alfaro Santis, microphone 5.
Alejandro Alfaro Santis, clergy, Latinx, Iowa, he, him, adult. I rise to nominate Reverend Lydia Munoz from Eastern Pennsylvania.
Okay, Reverend Lydia Munoz is nominated. Thank you. Gregory Gross, if you could go to microphone 2.
Gregory Gross, clergy, Northern Illinois, white, adult, non-binary, queer clergy. I rise to move to close nominations.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, we will move now. It is moved that the nominations be closed. Although our Rule 31 states all motions shall be adopted by a majority vote unless it is on the list, the chair will process this motion as an equivalent to closing debate. Therefore, the chair announces that there is one speaker in the recognition pool who has selected other parliamentary to indicate they wish to make a nomination. And since the okay, so we are moving now to a vote to end nominations. So get your devices out if you're ready to end the nominations, to close the nominations. You will. Close the nomination. Oh, nominations, nominations. Please forgive me. And please forgive me, those whose names that I messed up. Please forgive me for my pronunciation. We are now voting on whether or not you're ready to close nominations. If you're ready to close nominations, please press 1. If not, please press 2. Please vote now. And if you have problems, just wave those flags high so you can get the help you need. I see a flag over here at the back left. Okay. Okay, there's another one out here to the right. Okay. All right, the vote is now closed. May we have the results? 682 people have voted to close the debate, to close the nomination, and 43 have not. The motion to close prevails. Chair recognizes our General Secretary.
We will be operating with the staff to verify the eligibility of each of these persons to let you know that they are actually seated delegates. That review we will announce a little bit later in the session.
Okay, the next item of business is the nominations for the office of Secretary Designate of the General Conference. Paragraph 504 of the Book of Discipline states, the Council of Bishops shall present a nomination from the ordained ministry or lay membership of the United Methodist Church for Secretary Designate. Other nominations shall be permitted from the floor. The election, if there be 2 or more nominees, shall be by ballot. Page 2074 of the Daily Christian Advocate provides the name of the nominee for the from the Council of Bishops. In a moment, we will accept nominations for the office of Secretary Designate of the General Conference. Nominations do not require a second. Delegates, you may now register using option 7, Other Parliamentary, to register in order to be recognized and make your nomination. Nominations are now open, and you may now register using option 7, Other Parliamentary. Okay, microphone, Auden Westad at microphone number 2, and then Ian Oriolo, please go to microphone number 5.
Bishop Audun Vesta, Lay Delegate Norway Annual Conference. I'm not here to do a nomination, but I have other parliamentary inquiry. Is that in order?
We're working on nominations now.
Yeah, but I was queuing in with other parliamentary inquiries.
If you're looking for other information, then you need to go back and put option 6, point of info or inquiry.
That's my hair.
Okay, see you
Okay?
soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Microphone 5, Ian Uriolo.
Thank you, Bishop. My name is Ian Carlos Urriola. I am a lay Latinx young adult male delegate from the Upper New York Annual Conference. Bishop, I move to request a declaratory decision from the Judicial Council.
Okay, hold on for a minute. Okay, we hear you want to make a request, a declaratory decision. On what matter do you want to make this request?
The matter I wish to make a request on is related to the nomination pool that we just closed for the Commission on the General Conference. May I state my question, Bishop?
Hold on just for a moment.
Absolutely.
Are you referring to the secretary, the nomination for the secretary designate, or the nominations for the Commission on the General Conference nominations?
The nomination pool for the membership of the Commission on the General Conference.
Is there a second? Okay, let's.
Bishop, I rise to request a declaratory decision from the Judicial Council as to the effect and meaning of paragraph 511.1. My question is in two parts. One, in light of the fact that paragraph 511.1b states that the membership of the Commission on the General Conference shall come from the elected delegates of the General Conference, but 511.
I just need to interrupt you for a minute. You've asked for a declaratory decision from the Judicial Council on paragraph 511.1, and actually this motion is not debatable. We need to move to, the motion requires a 1/5 vote, which is 20% of the General Conference delegates.
Bishop, don't I need to state what the question is for the delegates to be able to vote on what the question is?
Okay. We're working together.
We are.
Yes, we are. Go ahead.
I'll start my question over from the beginning for the clarity for the translators.
Yeah, we just need you to state not debate.
I'm not debating it.
Ask very clearly what you're asking of the Judicial Council. So go ahead.
Okay. I rise to request a declaratory decision from the Judicial Council as to the effect and meaning of paragraph 511.1, and my question comes in two parts. The first part is, in light of the fact that paragraph 511.1.b states that the membership of the General Conference shall come from the elected delegates of the General Conference, but 511.1a states that there shall be one youth serving on the Commission on the General Conference. How can these two sections be reconciled when no youth is elected as a delegate to the General Conference? And my second part of the question is, in light of paragraph 511.1a, is it legal to elect a Commission on the General Conference membership that contains no youth representation?
Okay, thank you. This is a motion for a declaratory decision. It has received a second. It's not debatable, and the motion requires a 1/5 vote, which is 20% of the General Conference delegates, in order to be adopted. We will now proceed to that vote. The question is on the adoption of the motion that the General Conference request a declaratory decision from the Judicial Council on paragraph 511.1. So we pick up your devices. If you wish to ask for the declaration of a Judicial Council ruling, you'll please press 1. And if not, please press 2. You may vote now.
Two flags there.
The vote is everybody. We've got flags going over here. If we can get. Okay, the vote is now closed. May we have the results? You have requested, the votes are yes, 560 votes, which is 77.13%. That surpasses the 20% that is needed. No votes, 166. Thank you very much. Just want to pause and please, we need your form. The motion for the declaratory decision, please make sure that you filled out that form and bring it forward to the front, to the General Secretary, so we can get it all processed appropriately. And just a pause moment for a moment as a teaching piece. We're all learning together. That motion really came at an inappropriate time because we were in the middle of nominations, but it all gets very confusing up here at times. And so let me just remind you that when we're in the middle of another action, other motions are not appropriate at the time that we're in the middle of another action. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. We are returning to our nominations, and so Ru Kang, and again, these nominations are for General Secretary Designate. For Ru Kang, Chi Kam, microphone 2, and yep, microphone 2.
Thank you, Bishop Rukang Chikomb, Northwest Katanga Annual Conference. I rise to nominate the Reverend Dr. Leisha Bwalia for the Secretary of the General Conference.
Reverend Leisha
Bwalia.
Bwalia.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is nominated. Thank you very much. Which annual, can you come back to the mic? We did not catch the annual conference. Sorry.
It's okay, Bishop. Go ahead.
Okay, which conference?
Zambia Annual Conference.
Zambia Annual Conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bishop.
Appreciate it. Okay, Undan Westad, microphone 2 for a point of information or inquiry.
Udne Vesta, Norway Annual Conference, lay delegate. I'm sorry, I was trying to get out of the pool. Sorry.
Thank you, thank you. All right. All right. Okay, there's no one else in the speaker recognition pool, and so if there's no objection, nominations for the office of the Secretary Designate of the General Conference will now be closed. Okay, seeing no objections, the nominations for the office of Secretary Designate of the General Conference is now closed. Thank you very much for how you've worked through that nomination process. We are turning now to the United Women in Faith report. And the chair recognizes our United Women in Faith.
inspiring, influencing, and impacting communities. We act in faith, bringing women's voices to the table and moving the church toward the kingdom. We are United Women in Faith.
Did you know United Women in Faith is life-changing? We support nearly 90 community centers across the U.S. and give millions to women's projects around the world. We train women leaders and transform through education. Did you know United Women in Faith is bold? With United Methodist Communications, we surveyed many women. We listened, we learned, and we acted. We have a new online digital community, new national membership model, new podcasts and webinars, and we changed our name. Did you know United Women in Faith brings the church together? Get to our website for more on soul care retreats, mission U's, and get-together jurisdiction events happening all over the country. And join our largest gathering, Assembly, when thousands of women come to Indianapolis in May 2026. Did you know United Women in Faith is nurturing?
Feeling overwhelmed and in need of a little soul care? Taking care of your soul can take many forms. It can be quiet or active. It can be alone or in a sisterhood of friends. It's taking time with the divine. Soul Care offers tailored experiences from United Women in Faith that provide both self-care and spiritual rejuvenation. We all need to nurture our whole selves, mind, body, and spirit, because your soul care is sacred.
At United Women in Faith, we know soul care is sacred. Now you know.
When the church formed the racist central jurisdiction, we wrote the first charter for racial justice. When the United Nations built its headquarters in New York, we built the Church Center for the United Nations right across the street. It is our headquarters today. When enslaved people were being freed, we built colleges. We still support HBCU's Clark Atlanta University and Bennett College. And joining us today are dancers from Pfeiffer University right here in Charlotte. Let's hear it for our dancers. When exposure to diesel exhaust made children sick, we advocated for electric school buses and better air quality in schools. And Congress, they dedicated over $5 billion to make it happen.
Lay women are the backbone of the church. As the lay women's organization of the United Methodist Church, our Methodist roots run deep. Women are 58% of the United Methodist Church. How different would our church be if we were also 58% of General Conference? We want a church that elects, hires, ordains, and appoints women equitably. A church that is anti-racist and multicultural.
As United Women in Faith, we believe in a bright future, and we believe that love in action can change the world. Join us.
United Women in Faith.
Thank you. Thank you, General Secretary Sally Vonner, and thank you, United Women in Faith. The next item of business is our calendar items. Make sure that you have your past daily Christian advocates ready. The chair at this time recognizes Bishop Harold Ruckert, Bishop Gregory Palmer, and Amy Lippold from the Standing Committee to present our first calendar item. Please make sure you have your past DCAs ready as well.
Thank you. Friends, the report from the Standing Committee on Central Conference Matters is back to General Conference eventually. We've been waiting for this time to occur for many days, and there are 5 more items where you have to take action on today. We did, as a General Conference, a great job last week when we approved worldwide regionalization. It was inspiring, it was moving, it was exciting, and it was motivating. But we are not yet done. What we achieved last week was step 1 only. The petition around the amendment of the Constitution has to be ratified by all of our annual conferences around the globe, which is step 2. All members have to, of our central conferences, of our annual conferences, the aggregate vote of 2/3 is required to get this petition into the future. If this fails, all the other petitions around worldwide regionalization also will not apply. So we have to be very intentional about this next step. At the end of the petition around regionalization and the amendment of the Constitution, it reads, "The ratification process by the annual conferences for the constitutional amendment in this petition shall begin no later than 30 days after the adjournment of the postponed 2020 General Conference." There's work to do for us in our annual conference, and I asked Gary Grave, Secretary of General Conference, to provide some more details before we move into our next agenda items.
Thank you, Bishop Ruckert. The typical process for moving forward the constitutional amendments that are proposed is that they are passed here at General Conference by a 2/3 vote. Then the Secretary's office prepares them for distribution to each of the annual conferences with a ballot that is to be returned to the Council of Bishops as they canvass the votes. The process that is used places that action not at this year's annual conference, but at next year's annual conference. What you have done with this particular piece is to designate a separate group of constitutional amendments that are now given a fast pass. And the Secretary will have to get those out within the first 30 days following the adjournment, and then you will be processing that set at whatever annual conference session falls. Some annual conferences will have already met by the time that 30-day clock comes out. So it would be another year as we go through unless there are special sessions. That is a piece that is yet to be worked out with the responsible party.
Thank you. Now we move to calendar items 18, 19, and 20. I think we will start with number 18. Is this correct? These three calendar items I mentioned all relate to the continent of Africa. Number 18 is about the number of bishops in Africa. Number 19 is about the number of central conferences on the continent of Africa. And number 20 is correcting names of countries and just put in the correct names into all what we do here. The first petition about the numbers of bishops you can find in the DCA on page 1992. It's about creating new episcopal areas. At past General Conference, there was approved to get 5 more bishops to Africa. But time has changed since then. So the working group of the Standing Committee, which was closely working with our sisters and brothers in Africa, now come out to recommend not 5 more episcopal areas rather than 2. And it also, when you look at the end of this petition, there's an indication that the extension of the African Comprehensive Plan is going to be collaborative work between the Central Conferences in Africa and the Standing Committee of Central Conference Matters to prepare new proposals, if needed, for General Conference 2028. So this is petition number 18. It's before you. And if there are any questions to that, my colleague, Bishop Greg Palmer and Reverend Emil Lippold, they both were part of the working group, are happy to answer your questions.
It is moved to adopt calendar item 18. The question is on the adoption of calendar item 18, located on pages 1992. You may now register to speak. Is there any discussion? The chair recognizes Jethro Moyambi for a speech against, microphone 2.
Thank you, Bishop, for the time. Jethro Muyombi from South Congo. Bishop, before I ask my question against, I just want to understand the report correctly. If
I can only take a speech against at this time because that's how you've registered. If you have a point of inquiry, you can go back and enter the pool under number 6 for a point of inquiry.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Peggy Ward, microphone 1. I don't see Peggy coming to a mic. So Tom Grebe, microphone 5, for a point of inquiry information.
Tom Grebe from Kentucky, white male clergy. Just a simple question. What are the financial implications of what is before us?
Does the committee have an answer to that?
This is a question referring to GCFA. The Standing Committee has to deal with the content and to look at the need. And the finances, we cannot decide on the finances on the Standing Committee on our own. So GCFA has to come into that.
Okay, is Moses Kumar in the house? And can he provide us some information? I see microphone 6, or microphone 6.
Good morning. I wanted to give some additional data for all of you. As of now, we have 20 bishops. And the giving rate for the central conferences are at that rate of 14%, which is about $611,000, which is just 14% share from the central conference. Due to disaffiliation and church closures, even to maintain the 20 bishops now, they have to pay a 91% more in order to support even the current number of 20 bishops. I also want to say, in order to fund the 22 bishops, the central conferences have to increase their giving by 157%. Again, I wanted to re-emphasize, GCFA has no authority to say, tell the number of bishops. I'm just giving the facts that the strain and the problem of the General Conference to pay, central conferences to pay the additional revenue would be more, and it's a fact that I want to state it here.
Okay, thank you for that information. Turning now to Emmanuel Sinzaragia from Burundi, microphone 5.
Thank you, Bishop, for giving me this opportunity to speak. As you said, I'm Reverend Emmanuel Sinzaragia from Burundi. I'm happy that we are discussing the issue of additional bishops. I'm standing here to support the work of the Standing Committee of adding 2 bishops in Africa. I understand that the church, or even worldwide, we are going through economic issues. But also, on the other hand, we need to do the work of God. Burundi Annual Conference, as the mother church of East Africa Episcopal area, we did a great job doing missions in Rwanda, Kenya, Uganda, South Sudan. And I think it's really for this house to reconsider giving back Burundi an Episcopal area. We've achieved a lot doing the work of the Lord. So I humbly, with humility, I stand before you, people of God, to request your support of giving back Burundi an Episcopal area. We will highly appreciate your support for this petition. Thank you very much, my bishop.
Thank you. That was a speech 4. We're turning to microphone 2, Henok Mwenzi from Southwest Katongo. I think I see someone coming to the mic, yes.
Merci, évêque, pour la parole.
Thank you, Bishop, for allowing me to speak. My name is Henok Mwenzi Malenge, Southwest Katanga. I'm a Secretary General of the Central Conference of the Congo. I think that I requested the floor to speak against the petition and not for the petition.
You are in order.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Bishop, I would like to speak against this petition that would provide 2 additional Episcopal areas for Africa in general, and only 1 area, not as an Episcopal area, but for the entire Central Conference of the Congo. This is not acceptable considering the statistics. And referring to paragraph 404 of our Book of Discipline, General Book of Discipline, that provides for the conditions and the criteria to give an additional number of bishops for an area. And when I look at South Congo and Zambia and North Katanga, they respectively have approximately 5 annual conferences, at least. I find it abnormal that they are given an additional episcopal area. This is not acceptable. That is why I would like to reconsider this decision from the Standing Committee. So in South Congo and Zambia, an additional episcopal area would be provided, and North Katanga an additional episcopal area. I would like to add that by giving only one additional episcopal area for the entire Congo Central Conference, this would foster conflict. I do not see how episcopal areas would be able to share a geographical space to create an episcopal area. So the financial reasons that are provided are not compelling. The church possesses the money, and we need to find the resources to create 2 additional episcopal areas in the Congo Central Conference. In 2016, we voted for 5 bishops. This is something that was already voted by a general conference. I do not understand how a standing committee can change the decision made by the general conference. I still have a couple of seconds.
You have exceeded your time. Thank you very much. That was a speech against. I'm now turning to Ande Emmanuel, who has registered to amend. Please go to microphone 6.
Bishop, my name is Reverend Ande Emmanuel. Clergy delegates from the Southern Nigeria Annual Conference. I rise to make an amendment, if this is in order.
It is in order. What is your amendment?
My amendment is to bring back Part C, which was struck out in this petition, where it says, Part C, the West Africa Central Conference to elect 1 additional bishop, bringing the total bishop to 5. Can I speak to that, Bishop?
Is there a second? Second. There is a second. You may speak to it.
Bishop, we are here as brothers and sisters to have this holy conferencing. And we understand that the desire for bishop has to do with missional needs, has to do with where growth is happening, and has to do with the population where it is growing. I want to say this not because I disagree with my brothers from Africa, whom this other proposal are made for addition of episcopal area. But I'm saying this to appeal to our conscience, to look at the areas of needs that are coming up in West Africa. It is our understanding in this general conference that, for example, in 2016, a request to add additional episcopal area in Nigeria was referred to the 2020 General Conference, which is holding in 2024. Beside that, I would like to share an information here which will help us in this decision. We have a situation, for example, in Nigeria where this church is growing. The statistics in Nigeria have risen to over 1 million. And we have a group of United Methodist Church in Nigeria who will number up to 400,000, 350-something local churches, and over 300 pastors that disconnected themselves from us, but this time around are willing to come back. These issues like that have necessitated that this General Conference should look at the promise, or let me say, referral that was made in 2016 to defer additional Episcopal area in West Africa to the 2020 General Conference. I would like to call on my African brothers, not that I disagree with where these areas of Episcopal area are added, but I come to you as a matter of concern to look at our brothers and sisters somewhere whom this missional need is needed. And I want you to agree with this amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We are now on the amendment. As I look at the amendment, if Section C was restored, then there would also need to be some action on some of the text beyond that. So I just want to bring that to your attention. In the DCA on page 1993, we're on the amendment to restore Section C, the strike through. We are now, in a moment, we're going to open the pool. So if you wish to speak to the amendment, which is to restore the wording that has been struck through on page 1993, Section C, under calendar number 18, you'll be able to register for speaking to the amendment. The question is on the motion to amend by restoring the language in paragraph C. Okay. I see Guy Nyambo, microphone 6, North Katanga, also is, okay, he also has an amendment. We're on, is this an amendment to the current amendment, or is this a new amendment? We're on the amendment now. We're on the amendment. Are you speaking to the amendment? Microphone 6.
Merci, évêque.
Thank you, Bishop.
Pastor Nyembo, Kinkondulu.
Pastor Nyembo from North Katanga. Regarding petition 18, I suggest an amendment. The amendment would be to go from one bishop to 2 bishops for the Congo Central Conference. Replace number 1, replace 1 bishop to 2 bishops.
That motion is not in order at this time. We're speaking to the amendment. We are speaking to the amendment to remove or to restore the wording under Section C on page 1993. Okay, we're on the amendment. Okay, we're moving on we are on the amendment now. The amendment, which is the restoration of the language of Section C on page 1993. I'm going to call on Shepherd Mpemba from West Zimbabwe for a speech 4. Microphone 4, please.
Shepherd Mpemba, West Zimbabwe. I rise to speak in support of restoring the original wording. The reason is there's a lot of growth in Africa, and to support that growth, we need to have add more supervisory capacity. I hear that most of our debate for not adding the 5 bishops is premised on the amount of contribution from Central Africa. It is my thinking that a lot of giving that is coming to the coffers of Central Africa Annual Conference is not being recognized. There's a lot of capacity. For instance, in my annual conference with Zimbabwe, we've managed to build episcopacy houses, we've managed to build head offices from our own resources. I believe if it means apportioning more to the General Conference coffers, I believe Africa has got capacity which has not been recognized. I thank you.
Okay, that is a speech 4. Do we have anyone who wants to speak against? I'm turning to Jethro Moyambi from microphone 2, South Congo, for an amendment. And again, we're on the amendment, so it's in order if it's an amendment to this amendment.
Thank you, Bishop, for the word. Jethro Muyombi, South Congo. I'm on page 1993, page 18, section A. My amendment concerns to request to restore what is cancelled there, to have the 2 bishops, the 2 new bishops in Congo. That is my amendment.
So that amendment is not in order. That is not in order at this time. We're on an amendment that deals with Section C. If you would like to make an amendment to Section C, it would be in order. But you're proposing a different subject at this time. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, would Delegate Ande Emmanuel come back to microphone 6? I want to read to you the amendment as we have it up here and want to clarify your intention. Okay, here is the motion that we have in writing. The motion is to restore the language in Section C, West Africa Central Conference, to elect one additional bishop, bringing the total episcopal areas to 5, recommending for a new episcopal area in Nigeria.
Absolutely, Bishop. That's the amendment. Thank you.
Okay, hold on. I think we had one other question about that. Okay, just confirming. We're trying to make sure we have it clear. Just stay at the mic for a moment, please.
No problem. Can I vote?
Hold steady here. We're trying to make sure that everybody is clear. I'm going to turn to the Committee on the Standing Committee on Central Conferences to clarify the interpretation for everyone of what this amendment will do.
Bishop Palmer is happy to provide some more details.
And please, the delegate, pay attention and make sure this was your intention with your motion to amend.
Thank you, Bishop Steiner-Ball, and thank you, Bishop Ruckert, and greetings to the delegates. Our understanding as members of the Comprehensive Africa team, which is a part of the Standing Committee on Central Conference Matters, is that if this amendment is adopted and ultimately goes on, is adopted becomes a part of the main motion and it should be adopted by the House, that the effect would be to take the number of new bishops for Africa from the current 2 to 3, with that one of those being designated for the West Africa Central Conference, which would in turn give them a total of 5. I want to assure the House, as well as the maker of the motion, that we did our work throughout this protracted quadrennium with the intention of fulfilling completely the intentions of the voting delegates to the 2016 General Conference in Portland, which did say 5 new bishops for Africa. And all of that work is laid out very carefully in the ADCA in our original report. Subsequent to all of the challenges that the UMC has faced, some of which have been talked about here on the floor during this discussion, we attempted to work collaboratively with all of the voices that were particularly drawing attention to some contracted capacity around finances, and we got to the number of 2. And so that's where these amendments that take the number down. If one looks further in petition number 18 as you have it, or calendar item 18, we still anticipate that what was adopted in Portland would still prevail, and we have projected how we might get to the 5 over the next several years. So that's just some background to speak to the collaborative work, to the good faith in which we've tried to operate with all of the parties, including multiple consultations with lay and clergy leaders on the continent of Africa, as well as careful work with the bishops of the continent of Africa. But where I began is how we are interpreting the amendment. I hope we have not made it confusing what he originally intended, but that's how we're understanding the effect of it.
I'm going to turn to microphone 6, and the maker of the motion does that interpretation agree with what you're trying to do, increasing the number of bishops from 2 to 3?
Well, Bishop, my intention was, probably we have to do the math again. My intention was to stick with the 2 and allow our African brothers and sisters from the Central Africa Central Conference to consider stepping up for the West Africa and make some amendment, East Angola and West Angola, making it an episcopal area, thereby leaving the number as proposed by the standing committee.
Let me recognize the General Secretary of the Secretary of the General Conference, the Secretary of the General Conference. Let me get my words in order.
Thank you. The clarification that we were looking for is if you restore the full complete text of C without making the change from 5 to 3, you are not considering all of the amendments that had occurred prior to it in the paragraphs that are listed above on page 1993. So the amendment, if it were to be carried here, would also need changes to the numbers above before the numbers would equal the right amount. Is that correct, Bishop Palmer, at the direction we were going? It's the simple addition of the numbers earlier in the paragraph. Thank you.
Okay, we are on, hopefully that discussion helped you on where we are, to be clear about the amendment. We are still on the amendment to restore section C. We've had one speech for. Okay, we have. So I'm turning to George Howard, microphone 3, for a point of information inquiry. Microphone 3.
George Howard, lay, West Ohio, white male. Bishop, I was trying to remove myself, but now that I'm here, I will go ahead and say, within the current budget that's being proposed to the General Conference by GCFA, do they not have 2 additional bishops in Africa included in their projected budget now?
Yes, they do. They are included. I'm turning to Maxwell Maranga, microphone 4, East Zimbabwe, for a speech against. Again, we're on the amendment.
Thank you, Bishop. Maxwell Mironga, the Zimbabwe East Annual Conference, lay leader, male, lay delegate. Bishop, I rise to speak against the amendment. I am speaking for the first petition as it was brought by the standing committee. I would like to respect the work which was done, and also going into the future, as it was shared, that this is going to be implemented gradually. So as of now, I am supporting the additional of 2 bishops as stated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was a speech against. I'm turning to Rukan Chikomba, microphone 2, for speech 4.
Thank you, Bishop Rukang Chikombe, Northwest Katanga Annual Conference. Bishop, I am for restoring the C point. Why? I think we're trying to go back instead of going forward. Standing committee could have come up with an idea of saying, how about if we give you bishop, but at least pay this rubric in their expenses? Because I'm going to come back with an amendment about the point A. We are to the point where we can support our bishops. Not fully, but we'll make a step. And to me, it seems like standing committee does not even think about that. I am for restoring the point C, and let's think the way we can come up with what I've heard this year, the 50-50 or the 60-45, and see how we're going to progress. That is growth. That's why I am for restoring this C, and the next amendment for a restoring will be coming too.
Thank you. That was speech 4. I'm turning to Andre Casul Vieira, microphone 5 from Eastern Angola for speech against. Again, we're on the amendment. We're on the amendment.
Thank you, Bishop, for the opportunity. I'm Andre Vieira from East Angola Annual Conference. It is with a big sadness that we get this information here. East Angola Annual Conference and West Angola Annual Conference to be one episcopal area. What is the reason? Why are you doing that with us? It is not fair. East Angola Annual Conference, the bishop is retiring. It is fair for us to replace with another one, instead of sending it to East and West Angola to be supervised. We are not behaving as a church. We are not behaving as brothers and sisters in Christ. I'm standing on behalf of East Angola Annual Conference to replace what you are taking from us. We deserve to have elected bishop to replace Bishop Kupungu, who is retiring. Is it not fair to take the bishop to take to Burundi Burundi is being supervised by one bishop, so this bishop may continue supervising Burundi. Zimbabwe has got a bishop who is supervising another conference. He may continue to supervise that conference. We need justice to replace Bishop Kipungu. From the beginning, here in the General Conference, the preachers has been saying, justice, justice, justice. Now I'm asking, behaving like this with us, which kind of justice are you doing with Eastern Angola Annual Conference? They are bishops, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, please help us replacing, giving back what we deserve. Elect a bishop to replace Bishop Kipungu, who is retiring. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Speech against. I'm turning to reminding no clapping, no cheering, please. Let's respect one another at the mic. I'm turning to Elizabeth Schindler, microphone 5, Pacific Northwest.
How about 6?
6, okay.
Elizabeth Schindler, Pacific Northwest, clergy, white, female, adult. I move that we close debate and vote on the amendment.
Okay, is there a second? There is a second. So we stop at this point. The motion is whether or not you are ready to close debate on the amendment. On the amendment. So get your voting devices out. This motion is not debatable in accordance with Rule 7.3. And the chair informs the delegates that there are the following individuals currently in the pool. 2 people with speeches for, 0 persons with speeches against, 1 person proposing an amendment, and this motion will require a 2/3 vote. You're voting on whether or not you are ready to end debate. We are now proceeding to the vote, and the question is on closing debate on the amendment. So we're ready to vote. Those in favor of closing the debate on the amendment, please press 1. Those opposed to closing debate on the amendment, please press 2. You may vote now. We have a flag over here. Okay. Our vote is now closed. Let us see the results. Okay, you have ended debate. 674 yes, 73 no. Continue to hold your devices. There are 2/3 in the affirmative, and so we have ended debate on the amendment. We will now get ready to vote on the amendment itself.
May I speak on behalf of the Standing Committee before we vote?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Friends, we also feel the tension between the needs in Africa for leadership on one side and the financial resources for this on the other side. And there's a discrepancy between both. The Standing Committee tried to provide a good balance of both, acknowledging the needs and also acknowledging the financial situations. We also do know that we are, as a church right now, going through many uncertainties. And we're not clear about what's going to happen on the continent of Africa in the next few years. This we have to
Bishop
put
Bruker?
into consideration.
Okay, we need to stop you for a moment. Yeah, you need to keep your comments only to the amendment because we're still working on the entire petition.
Yes. So the recommendation from the Standing Committee remains with 2 additional bishops for all of Africa, and the amendment would change that. And I tried to explain it's a balanced thing that we offer to the body, and we also indicate that collaborative work will go on to the General Conference 2028, and it's still in mind the decision from 2016 that we may raise to 18 bishops in Africa, but we have to be in conversation with that and evaluate what we might do now with the first step for Africa. So I recommend to stay with what the Standing Committee has proposed.
Okay, thank you very much. We are now moving to the vote on the amendment. Okay. Okay, the amendment is on page 1993, and it's to restore the wording in section C. Okay? Those who would vote in favor of the amendment, please press 1. Those who are not in favor of the amendment, please press 2. Please vote now. Okay, I see flags over here. There's several flags over here in the back. There's some over here. There's a flag right in the front, the very front. Okay, has everyone voted? No? Okay, we still have. All right, the vote is now closed. And here, let's see the results. Okay, yes, 195. No, 560, which means the amendment does not prevail. And so we are back on the main motion. We've had 1 speech for and 1 speech against. If we want to. Okay. All right, so we are going to a speech for Maxwell Maranga, microphone 4, East Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Bishop. Maxo Mironga, Zimbabwe East Annual Conference, lay delegate, mayor. I arise to speak for Bishop. We want to thank the Standing Committee for the job well done, firstly. Also giving a bit of a background, coming out from the COVID pandemic, as the church in Zimbabwe, we have witnessed a huge growth of membership from our area. And with this bishop, we see it necessary to have an additional episcopal area for the Zimbabwe area, and we are supporting the 2 bishops to be added in the Central Conference. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a speech 4. I'm turning to point of inquiry. Andre Casul Vieira, microphone 5, Eastern Angola.
Thank you, Bishop, once again for the wonderful opportunity. As you have said, I'm Andre Vieira, clergy delegate from Eastern Angola Annual Conference. Bishop Kipungu and the church in Angola East is crying of what is happening here with us.
What is your question? You registered for a point of inquiry.
I registered to talk about the joining of Angola East and West to be one episcopal area. That's what I registered for. May I go?
That is not what I call. It's not the action that showed up on ours. So I would have to ask you at this point to sit down and re-register for what you want to do.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you very much. Okay. I'm calling on Manuel Rodriguez, microphone 4, Western Angola, for speech against.
Obrigado, Bispa. Manuel Rodrigues, delegado leigo na conferência.
Thank you, Bishop. I am Manuel Rodrigues from Western Angola, and I am addressed as he. Madam Chair, I rise to speak against petition 26409, especially line B, regarding the merger of 2 conferences of East and West Angola, thus reducing the episcopal area to a single bishop. For example, this version was a surprise to the delegation, particularly the West Angola Conference, because we have not been consulted.
Nem se tratar nas 2 conferências que Angola tem, nem muito menos na conferência central da região.
Nor in either of the conferences in Angola, nor in the regional conference. Madam Chair,
a nossa intenção
our intent
claramente leva-nos a não votar a favor
clearly
desta redução.
is to vote against this petition.
Que as conferências anuais do Oeste de Angola,
The West Angola and East Angola annual conferences are working in our churches to increase membership, to the number of churches and districts, and to become a central conference based on one of the resolutions that were approved in the Central Conference Committee. this will delay, this petition would delay the arduous work that we have been engaging in. As Bishop José Kipongo retires, we have the opportunity to elect another bishop and to continue the work that's been ongoing in both conferences. I also understand that the GCFA is recommending a budget for the Episcopal Fund of 15%. Yet, we would humbly ask that this be returned to the law.
Thank you very much.
Further discussion.
We had 2 speeches for and 2 pieces against. Two speeches for and 2 speeches against. We have a point of it. Right now, I'm going to ask the tech team to clear the pool. And if you wish to speak, you'll need to register again. Let's clear the pool. We've got several people that have tried to pull in and out, and so we just need to clear the pool. Okay, we've had, you may re-register to do what you are wanting to do. I do want to call on Mark Holland, microphone 4, for an amendment.
Thank you, Bishop. Mark Holland, clergy, Great Plains, white male, sort of average age and height. I move to strike on section 2 on page 1993, where it says, Central Conference, the Standing Committee on Central Conference Matters shall plan, organize, and implement a collaborative, comprehensive plan on numbers and boundaries of central conferences and Episcopal areas in Africa. I move to strike the remainder of that paragraph and add the following. To bring a recommendation to the next regular or special session of the General Conference, whichever comes first. And if I have a second, I'll speak to it.
I did hear a second. You may speak to it.
I think it's painful to hear the different areas struggling over the need for Episcopal areas. We know that's true. We also know there's great growth in Africa, and the need for Episcopal leadership is high. We also know there's a tremendous strain in the United States with COVID and disaffiliations that have led to a recommendation of a 42% reduction in the budget. I feel like we need to balance the budget issues with the growth in Africa, and instead of pushing this down the road 4 years, the bishops have already indicated their intention to call a special session in 2026. I think rather than pushing this to 2028, we should push it to the next General Conference, whichever comes first. We just saw in Eurasia an Episcopal area left the church. We don't know in the next 2 years if more Episcopal areas will leave. We don't know what ratification will look like for regionalization. And in the honor of how difficult a situation we are, I recommend that we move this up because we'll know a lot more in 2 years about the needs in Africa and the ability of the U.S. Church to contribute to that. So that's the reason for my motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Stay there for just a minute. Make sure that you get the written work up to us as quickly as possible. As I understand, the amendment is on section 2, down and striking from areas in Africa, striking all the way to the end, and bring a recommendation to the regular or special called session of General Conference, whichever comes first.
That's right.
That is correct? Okay, thank you very much. We are now on the amendment. And we have a new pool. The pool has been cleared. It's a new pool, so please register as to whether or not you wish to speak to the amendment. The amendment. Okay. I'm seeing no one. I do see somebody here. Charles Boeu, microphone 5, Michigan. A speech for?
Thank you, Bishop. Charles Boyu, Michigan. Bishop, may I speak from number 6, microphone 6?
You may.
Thank you. I support the amendment and everything that will follow to provide as many bishops and episcopal areas in Africa as possible. Part of the background of why we are here, and I see some of my sisters and brothers in Africa fighting each other, some in areas that the committee is providing episcopal leadership for in this motion, are happy. And those who are not getting are unhappy is understandable. Africa is a besieged continent. People from other continents than Africa have been plundering Africa unendingly. It is a witness that is yet to be fully made. And we struggle with some of the side effects, the collateral damage of that. Africans are a giving people. They give a high percentage of their income to the work of God through the United Methodist Church. And their inability to fully fund the work there is not because of poor Christian stewardship. It is because their resources are being plundered even as we gather here in Charlotte. The systemic plundering of Africa has left the people to come to this general conference asking for us to fund the primary mission of the United Methodist Church, to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. This is one of the most important things we will do in Charlotte, to fund our priority. I encourage you to balance our budgetary constraints against the growth of the United Methodist Church. I know that if this was in a different continent that had the money, we wouldn't be taking all this time, because the money will be there. And if I can appeal to rich people in a United Methodist Church before I take my seat, in your annual conference, just to step up and allow the people of Africa to help the United Methodist Church grow and transform the world. Please vote yes on this and every other step in this process to provide leadership for us in the place on earth where we are growing most. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a speech for. I'm turning to Jerry Kula, microphone 1, for a speech against.
Thank you very much. I'm Jerry Kula from Liberia, And first of all, I want to say everything that Dr. Boye just said actually were part of what I wanted to say. But my diversion speaks to why I'm voting against this amendment. I believe we need a paradigm shift. I believe the time has come for Africa to stop stretching her hands to her sisters and brothers in America and take responsibility for her growth. Because growth comes with responsibility. In Africa, recently we learned that our membership has gone to some 6 million. Today in Africa, you have a total of 685 million of professing Christians. And so we are the fastest growing. And so if this is the case, we should be able to take responsibility. So I vote against this amendment because I will want the 5 bishops to be approved and let Africa take responsibility of supporting her own leadership. We have the resources there. Recently, in a research I did, my own conference, as an example, was owing the GBGM a certain amount of money. We were due to pay back that money in 4 years. But when we galvanized the support, in 2.5 years, we paid back that money and our conference is still going strong. I believe, like what happened to Ivory Coast in 2004 when they were joining the United Methodist Church and they were told, look, we don't have resources to support your bishop. Can you support a bishop for 1 quadrillion? They accepted to do so and they did it. We can do it. And so I vote against this amendment because I believe the time has come for Africa to take responsibility of her own financial resources and support all of her own bishops with her resources based upon the assets she has. All we need to do is to utilize our assets adequately and put in mechanism that will ensure proper Christian stewardship, and Africa will be able to even pay her own delegates way to come to General Conference. So I vote against this amendment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Calling on Kalaba Chali for a speech 4, microphone 4, Great Plains.
Thank you, Bishop. Kalaba Chali from the Great Plains Conference, Zambian, Congolese, American, and male. First of all, I have to say the Holy Spirit is moving. I am speaking in favor, but I'm using the same argument from my brother Jerry Cooler. The Spirit is working when Jerry and I agree on the same. Bishop, I believe, yes, the continent of Africa not only is able to pay for their own bishops, they are already doing so. How do I know? In the continent, even when a bishop has a birthday, they may receive up to $50,000 birthday gift. They can do it. I also know I travel between Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Congo. When I am in Congo, when a district superintendent goes to do a church conference, they leave with a large envelope of money. The money is there and it is there now. Lastly, we have complained about corruption in Africa. We, those who live in the United States, actually contribute to corruption in Africa. How do I know? Because when the local people in the continent pay their leaders, there is higher accountability. But when money is coming from somewhere, it is easy to disappear and there is no accountability. So to end my speech, I support this. I also support the 5 bishops, but going to allow African conferences to pay fully their own bishops because they can do it.
Thank you. That's a speech for. Here's where we are. We've had 2 speeches for. We're speaking on the amendment. We've had 2 speeches for, 1 against. I have a motion to close debate, but I have to check. Does anyone want to speak against? I don't see anybody who's speaking against, so I'm calling on Jay Brim, microphone 1, for a motion to close debate on the amendment.
Bishop, I'm Jay Brim, a lay delegate from Rio, Texas, an older adult male, and I move to close debate.
Okay, we're closing debate on the amendment. Is there a second? I hear a second. Okay, it is moved and seconded. Again, this motion is not debatable in accordance with our Rule 7.3. I need to inform you that the following individuals are currently in the pool. We had two points of inquiry, 2 persons with points of inquiry. That is all that was in the pool. So this motion now requires a 2/3 vote, and we will now proceed to the vote on ending debate on the amendment. Get your voting devices out. Those who wish to end debate on the amendment, please press 1. Those who want to continue debate, please press 2. Please vote now, and if you're having trouble with your machines, wave your flags quickly. Okay, has everybody had a chance to vote? The vote is now closed. Please share with us the results. Yes, 706, and no, 37. You have voted to end debate on the amendment, so we're moving to the amendment. Again, the amendment is on page 1993. It's to strike the language in that last paragraph, beginning with the word right after Africa, and adding the language and bring a recommendation to the regular or special session of the General Conference, whatever comes first. That's the amendment. Are we clear? All right. Okay. Okay, we're having a little discussion back here. Again, it's It's to strike the language in that very last paragraph, beginning with the word with, to the end, and to bring back a recommendation to the next regular or special session of the General Conference, whichever comes first. And it applies to that paragraph. Yeah, okay. All right, so we are on the amendment. As I've stated it a couple of times now, please grab your device. If you would support the amendment, please press 1. If you would not, please press 2. Please vote now. All right, we got a flag right here in the front, middle. Any other flags? All right, the vote is now closed. Can we see the results? All right. Yes, 479. And noes 264. The amendment does pass. And so we are on the main motion as it has been amended. Now, we are 30 minutes past our lunch break. And I think that there's some concern that the food is getting cold. So, I believe we need to call a recess at this time for lunch, and we will be returning. Let me clarify the time for which we will return. We are recessing for lunch, and we will be back in session at 1:30. We will be back in 1:30. So we are now recessed for our lunch break. Thank you very much for working with us this morning.